Hello everyone, I am Sam and I'm a third year animation student at Sheridan College. I use this YouTube channel pretty much to talk about my experience in the animation world, which has never included work until now. So I actually got to work in a studio last summer. I was working for Mercury Filmworks in Ottawa and it was absolutely amazing, a great experience. I was working on a show called The Lion Guard, which is based on The Lion King, which was my favorite movie of all times growing up. So obviously I was really excited about it and I couldn't shut up about it as a child. I still can't, apparently. I also got to sit down with the director, the Canadian director, to the production and have a conversation. So that's pretty much what this entire video is. I got to sit down with him, talk about how he became the director of The Lion Guard, how he got to where he is, and a little bit about the production, about the company, Mercury, and some really interesting stuff. So I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think, and here's my interview with Christian Larocque. Well, hi everyone, I'm Sam, and I'm here with Christian Larocque, animation director for The Lion Guard, right?
Lion Guard, yeah.
Okay, good. So I have so many questions I can think of that I'd like to ask you. So I guess I'll just start right off with maybe you explaining to us what your job consists of.
Okay, my job consists of, like, a lot of people come in on the show, very, like for you in instance, you started like 1 month ago. I started on Lion Guard like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had to, 3 years ago, Disney came with me with the idea, came to the studio actually with an idea of we want to do the Lion Guard. And that's going to be, basically you just told me on a piece of paper, it was Lion King meets the Avengers.
Okay.
Okay, so okay, all right, whatever. So, and then they asked us, well, can you guys start designing some stuff for us? Like the main character or and some other characters in there as well.
Okay.
Which you can now see in the demo. It's all over the net. Like
right,
this is
yeah.
Kion. We had to design. We had to do a pass of Bunga as well. Okay. And
I'll post those that video actually in the description so people can see what you're talking about.
And that and that demo. And so I started with that demo, and way early on they asked us to do a sort of an animation test.
Yeah.
Because they weren't quite sure what studio to go with, so we kind of end up doing a little piece of animation to show them how we think the Lion King can look like. So that's my role. It's to figure it out at first for them how the show may look like.
Yeah,
and
what a TV show
may look like.
Right,
because
right.
at first they didn't really want to make it look like the movie. They want to make it look like something different.
Right, like so, more stylized.
More stylized, that kind of stuff. So we went the stylized route, and that went well. Yeah. So that brought us to another project, another demo. So that happened the first year. We worked on that for 1 year, and then once that got done, then they asked for another demo, and then said, "Well, we want to go a bit closer to the movie now."
Yeah.
So slowly, as we went, we started refining and refining.
To get the final look.
To get the final look.
Oh, okay.
And that happened throughout the course of 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, 2-3 years at least. Pretty much every end of the year, I had to do like something, a new animation piece I had to do for them. Yeah.
So would you say maybe that 3 years, or for a project like this, is that maybe the normal amount of time?
It is. Usually when a project starts from scratch to when you see it on TV, it's about 3 years. Something happened with Jake Neverland Pirates. Yeah. I started working on that. First time I ever saw the design in front of me, it was in 2007.
Oh yeah? Okay.
And by the time we got that done, we did a pilot, and by the time the first episode gets done, it must have been 2010, 2011,
really?
I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
So it takes a while. So like it's kind of odd to say, but once when you guys think the show start, I'm almost like sick and tired of it because I've been working on it so long. and then but I'm not sick and tired of it, but it's like I've been working on it for so long before that.
Yeah. And before anyone sees it, you just know everything inside out.
Yeah, I know all the history of the show and what happened. So usually as a director, depending on what project, because don't forget, I'm not the sole director on it. I'm like the Canadian director.
Right.
There's also the Disney director in LA.
Which would be Howie Parkins?
Howie Parkins, and and
So how does your job, maybe, because you said you're like the Canadian director or the in-house director for Mercury, right?
Yeah.
So how does your job compare to his, and how is it different?
How we deal more with storyboards and design, but then again, we do a lot of design here as well.
Yeah.
But mostly storyboard. They're dealing with in story and designs.
Okay.
And we take more charge of all what's animation here.
Okay. How about the sounds, like the music? And
that's all done in LA.
That's all
voice acting, well. All that stuff's all done in LA right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all Disney stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you briefly went over Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Yep. So you've worked on that clearly.
Yep.
And were you a director on that as well?
Yeah, same thing. Okay. Me and Howie at Disney have a good relationship because he was also the director on Jake and the Other Pirates and the Jake and the Neverland Pirates. Okay. So we hit it off there, and then he really trusts what I did, so he just kind of let me do what I needed to do to make the show look good. That's good. And then that confidence was there. So when it came down to Lion Guard, he just said, "Christian, just do what you have to do."
Yeah, he already knew he worked well with you.
Yeah. So we got a really, really good relationship together. Yeah.
So can you maybe go over some of the things you did before even Jack and the Neverland Pirates? How did you get in this position of being animation director for Lion Guard?
Okay, well that goes way back.
No, take me way back. So
okay.
Where did you start? Maybe even. Were you always passionate by drawing?
Of course.
Did you start as a child, really?
Yeah. Since I was like 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be in animation.
Really?
I was 5 years old. I know my job is going to be animation, and I don't want to work for Disney or all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I went to school. I went to college to Algonquin, and after my first year of school, I got hired at Lacewood at the time, doing posing. Back then, there was no animation done in Canada. Animation didn't exist in Canada.
Really?
Animation was dead. It's not dead, but I mean, we did all the preparation work here in Canada, and we all got shipped overseas. Everything got shipped overseas.
Okay, and like in Korea or something?
Yeah, Korea, India, whatever. Yeah, and like we did what we call posing here. So I pose out a character, and then we ship it in a box, and that got animated somewhere else and got back.
And that was all on paper?
All on paper,
yeah.
Back then, there was no computers.
Yeah.
No computers. That was like in 1990. I started working in 95?
95,
I started working.
And The Lion King came out in 94, so it's kind of a whole, did your time with it, I guess.
Yeah. And what was kind of interesting is that people don't realize this, but you guys are kind of lucky because when I started working, we did posing. And it meant that a lot of time we kind of young kids, not quite sure what we're doing. So for the first probably 10 years of my career, I was doing what we call posing. Yeah. And everything got shipped to Korea. Yeah. And then the Koreans or India, whatever, which I understand why they're doing it. They just took our drawing and put it in the garbage and just took a model sheet and traced it off.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So basically...
Right, because they have to... I mean, in the working conditions there don't really allow for...
Well, because we didn't really understand what we were doing here back then. Yeah. And we did a lot of posing and a lot of... And we just drew off model.
Oh, okay. So you mean they were actually doing a better job?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Jeez, I shouldn't even say that.
Oh, yeah. But, well, no. Some of us were pretty good at it, but some of us were terrible at it. And we just drew off model, and then they just took our drawing and, all right, garbage, and then I'll just do it properly.
Okay, right.
So, but that's fine. But that's what happened the first 10 years of my career. Like, everything I drew... Nothing got in, but nothing really ever got in. So
really,
that's how it worked. And they told us, it said, well, now like people are telling whatever you do doesn't matter. It all ends up in garbage. I said, okay. Yeah. So basically, for the first 10 years of my career,
you never felt like whatever was
whatever I was drawing, I knew it just got in garbage.
Oh my gosh.
So, but that's okay. We got used to it. But then. That's okay. I still got better drawing. I was drawing every single day, like from morning to night. Yeah. And I drew.
And that's something, I mean, I think we do in college and whatnot, but I think maybe my generation of animators don't really get that, pencil on paper experience the way your
I love paper by myself. But okay.
Yeah, as I can see, I see all kinds of roughs in your office.
Yeah. but yeah, but what kind of put me aside from the rest of the crew at back then is that back to my childhood, like we're talking 1990s, even 80s. My dad was not an artist at all, not an artist, but he loved computer. And in the 80s and 90s, having a computer at home was really rare.
Yeah.
Not too many people had computers at home back then.
Okay.
But my dad bought us computers. I had a TRS-80, which is like Commodore.
Okay. I've heard about that.
I had one of those, and I started drawing on those. And then after that, I got another computer, like the first IBM PC, all that stuff. And then suddenly I was like the only guy in town who worked in the animation industry that owned a computer. So back then, nobody had computers.
Right. So it's like the home computer.
Yeah, the home computer. Nobody had that. Yeah. So I started using that to my advantage. Okay, I got computers. So then at one point I started getting like scanners and all that kind of stuff for my own computer, and nobody had that before.
Right.
And then I started making my own little films for fun. I had made some of my little films. And people were like, "Oh my God, you can do films like yourself? Yeah. You're like a mini studio by yourself."
Right.
So people got really like intrigued about that because nobody was able to do that back then.
Yeah, and we take that for granted, right?
Today everybody can do a film.
And right now, I mean, if people can't know, but I'm filming this on my cell phone.
Yeah.
And I just basically taped it to a ladder, so it works. I mean, people can't see that, but so people, and after that, just in my own phone or just taking it.
But back then you had to buy a big expensive camera, and back then we didn't even have scanners. Like I remember, like my first camera I ever had was actually a hand scanner, which was like you have it in your hand, you have to scan your drawing that, and everything was crooked. But I started putting little ants in my drawings to like peg it.
Right.
So that's how it started. So I started doing that, and then people got impressed by that. The studio said, "Oh my God, you're like a mini studio by yourself."
Yeah, I started like directing your own stuff.
Yeah. So one of my boss, owner of the studio, saw me doing that one day and said, "Hey Christian, do you want to do a little film for me for a TV show that we're trying to sell?"
Oh, really?
So he just gave me like a few drawings and he said, "Can you do something with that?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I can do something." So over the weekend I worked like crazy hours and came up with a 1 minute film almost for that one with that few drawings he gave me.
Whoa! And how long did that take you, if you don't mind?
I think I did like in 3 or 4 days.
What?
Yeah. But it was not grandiose. It was not grandiose. But then my boss saw that. I said, "Oh my God, you did a mini film like in one weekend?" Yeah. So he started giving me more and more little project that every weekend he gave me like another film to do, another thing to do, and just to sell TV shows. And there's a few shows that we did that I did demo for like that got sold and got produced, and
Can you name names?
One of them I can remember was called King, which Jerry Popovich directed upstairs.
Right, Jerry Popovich
is the owner of the studio.
Yeah.
So I started making a bunch of those films, and then suddenly I became like this one guy who was able
the go-to
guy was able to take any drawing and make a little film out of it.
Right.
So that got me really a lot more attention from the other cast, I guess. And anyway, I was kind of decent at drawing, all that kind of stuff too. So
kind of decent.
That helped too. It helped. So I had the respect of like the artist as well.
For sure. Yeah.
So I was able to do that, and that's what got me noticed.
Yeah. And I guess like even though we have all the resources and stuff, it does take a lot of initiative to do something like that. So maybe that's something that us students can kind of take from that, because you weren't just you weren't like the only one who had a super proficient computer and no one else had it, because I think others had like taken that time in the weekend and whatnot.
And I'm super passionate about my work, honestly, super passionate, and that's what I always wanted to do. So for me, it was not even working, it's having fun. Yeah, basically, sometimes it's hard, sometimes you're swearing, but overall, you're always happy, doing it. And something that I think kids or students coming into this program have to understand is that there's this thing that people always say, "Oh, animation is hard, and you're always working hard. You're gonna be working late hours, and oh my God, you have no sleep and all-nighters and all that stuff." And I would say, yeah, it's sort of true, but not for all your life.
Yeah.
I would say probably for the first 10 years of your career in animation, if you want to make it, if you really want to make it, yeah, you're going to do some long hours. But again, I never really did long hours myself. When I did longer hours, mostly when I was doing those short films, and I was having so much fun that I had to stop myself working because it was just so much fun to do it.
Okay.
But
really
very passionate. But when I started doing like posing or animation, that kind of stuff, I didn't do that much long hours.
Oh, okay.
I just police myself, saying, "Well, I gotta get this done today, and yeah, I'll be done by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever." I just police myself a little bit that way, and that was fine.
Oh.
But to really like, I think my more important work was when I was doing those late nighters stuff on those little projects, little movies, which I had a blast doing. Because I had like video editing, sound effects, music, all. I sold everything off the internet.
Complete control of whatever you're doing.
And so basically, so that got me noticed.
Yeah.
And then slowly Mercury got started. I worked with Jerry back then, and Jerry hired me what was my first job here? I think I was technically a technical director. I think I was at first.
Oh yeah? Okay, because I was going to ask you. So I guess now we're like into the Mercury area.
Yeah, Mercury
you've
area.
Been with them for a long time, right?
Yeah, for 10, 12 years, I think.
Okay, and how long ago has Mercury been?
Well, in Ottawa, I started. Jerry and Clint started the studio in Ottawa, but I was there helping them out starting the studio.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So it exists back then in Vancouver,
yeah.
But Jerry have no relationship in Vancouver. It's just Clint called Jerry to start a studio in Ottawa.
Oh, okay.
So, and then Jerry turned around and said, "Hey, Christian, I'm starting a studio with this guy. You want to be part of it?"
And did you know him from Algonquin College? Or?
Jerry?
Yeah.
No, only from work.
Oh, okay.
He also from Algonquin, but he was earlier than me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And we started Mercury, and it was kind of funny because the first demo we had to do to get a TV show for Mercury in Ottawa was mostly like the meeting areas were actually in my apartment. Because there's no studio.
So you were doing that just in your apartment?
Well, the meeting place, like we had, it was either in Jerry's house or my apartment.
Because you were the one with the computer?
Yeah, so that was like the meeting spot because there was no studio back then.
Right.
There's one in Vancouver, but there's not one here in so that's where
okay, so nothing set.
No, so the first demo we did to get a TV show was done partially on my computer at home, and this other guy home as well. So we're two guys working on more than two, but like Dave Merritt was also part of that whole thing. So I was a technical director, but I didn't like that. Like I said, I want to have more control over a show.
Okay. Do you want to maybe describe really quickly what a technical
director be quite honest, I didn't even knew back then what a technical director was.
Okay.
And so basically I was a guy, almost I guess I was sort of in charge of comp sort of thing, but I didn't really stick to that more than a week or something like that because I got bored.
Yeah.
And back then when Mercury started, like Toon Boom or Flash animation didn't really exist back then. It was like a brand new thing in the industry.
Yeah.
So we had nobody to look at, see how they've done their shows because it didn't really exist back then. There's one or two shows been done, but that's about it. So there was no pipeline figured out at that point. Like it was all brand new. We have no clue how. Basically, to be quite honest, like all of us, like we've been in the industry for 10 years, but we never done a show from start to finish back then.
Right. Because when you're working in a studio, it's like you're working on kind of with blinders on because you're not doing every job.
Yeah, exactly. But in this case, where we're doing everything, so for us it was like, and if with the new technology too, it's like so we never knew. We have no clue. We have no clue what the hell we were doing. Actually,
really? Okay.
Well, but we're all very, very passionate
and very talented too.
Very talented as well. Very passionate, very talented. Yeah. And we just figured it out as we're going. And like we were working with Toon Boom at the time. It was like another software back then. It was called Carcerto, and it was very it's in its infancy, and there was tons of bugs in it.
Oh yeah.
And
to this day, I mean, we take it for granted, but we're like, something really small happened, and I'm so frustrated. But I'm sure back then it was.
Back then we had to like for the comp. I remember we had to animate the scene first, and then we had to export it to a third party of Toon Boom to get a comp as well.
Okay.
And there was no timeline. There was no timeline back then.
What?
No, I don't think so. Anyway, it was very crude.
Oh.
So that's how we that's how we started with Toon Boom back then.
Really?
Yeah,
oh.
And then we did the first episode, and I always remember our first reaction watching the first episode. We all said, "Oh, it looks like a TV show."
It's like almost surprising at that point.
Oh, it looks like TV show. So we're kind of like surprised that it ended up looking decent because it was pretty crude.
Okay.
It was pretty crude. But then after the 4th, 5th, 5th episode of that show we did, it got better and better and better and better and better and better and better. And it's holy shit, we really started getting the hang of it.
And I guess that's from you guys either, learning from your mistakes and how to use everything, but also kind of investing. Like, were you hiring more people at that point? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and people got better at it too.
Right.
And but then so I didn't really stick long as technical directors because they need help in so many departments and trying to figure it out. And what I'd rather be doing at that point was like doing animation, supervising animation. That's what I wanted to do. So I remember I was sort of overseeing animation and comp at the same time.
Okay.
And it was kind of vague now, but I think that's what I was doing, sort of thing. And it was kind of Jerry's right man thing, so we just basically got a show done.
Yeah.
That's how, we just got a show done. It was like just total chaos and just figuring it out.
Okay.
Remember, I was coming in every weekend trying to get the show done, and
And what was your first show? Like that first show that you guys were working on at that point? What was
the name of the show? Was called Mischief City.
Okay, Mischief City.
And it played on YTV.
Okay.
And I think we did 2 seasons out of it.
Okay.
2 seasons.
Okay. If some of you guys remember Mischief City, let me know. I actually didn't really grow up watching television. So
okay. Well, let me neither. So.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So were you like, would you go to the theaters to watch? Because you said you wanted to do animation.
Sorry. Just finish my quick story before that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay? So then I was kind of like an animation director there, sort of thing. And then slowly, one day, I remember what always bugged me about Toon Boom animation or Flash animation. It always looked very cut out look.
Yeah.
And I remember one day I was kind of like trying to figure out a way how I can have these more two-dimensional characters going on, and I start fooling around with some built ideas. So I came up with this technique at one point, and it was very complex at the time, which allowed to have a much more hand-drawn, fluid look to it, which now we use on Jake Never Pirates, on
Is it the Deformers?
No, that's way later. But just getting the more, all the angles of the head, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That didn't exist back then. And that's where, and I remember back then, I started figuring out a way, how can I make Flash animation look more hand-drawn?
Yeah.
And so I was experimenting a lot with that concept, with that idea.
Okay. Was that Flash at that point?
It was Concerto.
Oh,
okay.
So what would become Toon Boom? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I came up with an idea one day how to separate these characters to look more hand-drawn.
Right.
And I did a first test. It's actually on YouTube now. It's called Goonies.
Oh, yeah?
I took a clip from the movie Goonies, and I animated this little boy talking.
Okay, I'll put it in the description below.
And that was the very first test I did using this new technique that now it's almost become standard in Mercury, where we do all of our shows this way now, which now basically allow to get any angle that we want out of the character and actually in between smoothly into each.
So what was like that technique, or like what's the name of it?
Oh, we call it ultra built or something like that.
Oh okay.
There's so many different names. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very complex.
Builds, but
they look awesome at the end.
That's
right? Because I see a lot of comments online. I don't know. Can we say this? I can cut this out. But that it's not hand drawn, right? It's all on Toon Boom.
Yeah.
And a lot of people online are kind of not sure if it's hand drawn or if it's
that was the point.
A combination.
Yeah.
And it really does. I mean, I think for a lot of it, the animation it looks very hand drawn. It looks very traditional.
Yeah.
Which is I don't think is anything I've seen on television, and you might know better.
No, you're basically the only one that is able to achieve it.
Yeah.
And and like I said, I came down like so many years ago, like it had to be at least 10 years ago. I came up with that idea and that kind of build. So so I did that little test, and then the guys at the studio, my boss, really liked that. Oh my God, it looks amazing, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then suddenly in my lap, they gave me this show called Toot and Puddle. Right there.
Right.
That's
Okay. And I know
and that one, I was the actual director on that show. They said, "Okay, Christian, you're going to become a director now, and this is your first show you're going to do." Mm-hmm. And this show was very groundbreaking for a lot of reason, because this was a show that we had full control over.
Right. Oh. Okay.
And I really wanted to make sure that it didn't look flash.
Yeah.
Or
like that very cut out look.
Yeah, I want to have that Disney hand drawn full animation, which I love a lot.
Yeah.
So, and that became the first show we ever used this technique on, was Toot and Puddle. And I directed the show, did all the boards, and I supervised. I did the whole.
Well,
the whole thing. I directed the whole thing.
Right.
And those builds became like our trademark, pretty much.
Yeah,
for
sure.
That was the first show we ever experimented with those type of movement. Mm-hmm. And
the reason I had heard about Mercury was actually a Disney animator who worked here, coming out of Algonquin, I think. This Trent Corey.
Yeah.
He came to our school, talked to us a little bit, and he mentioned.
He worked on the Toot and Puddle, and he was telling me a story one time that he met Eric Goldberg. He knows Eric Goldberg pretty well. He was like his tutor or something like that.
Really?
And at one point he was showing some Toot and Puddle scenes that he did, and Eric Goldberg did not believe him. That was not hand drawn.
Oh, really?
So that's hand drawn. No, it's not hand drawn.
Yeah.
That's
so it's really pushing the envelope.
So Eric Goldberg was convinced it was hand drawn.
Really?
So I was pretty flattered in hearing that comment.
Of course. Yeah.
Like, don't kid me. Like a lot of the scenes in the show, they're not great, but there's a certain key scenes that with the right animator, the right amount of time, and some scenes look very hand drawn, very good.
And also the builds kind of give you that. I mean, if you're a good animator, then you have the liberty or the freedom to do it properly. Yeah.
And then that show got a lot of people in the industry, like around the world. Oh my God, how do these guys ever done this? Like, and other studios saying, well, our show doesn't have to look flat anymore. There's this one studio in Canada that are doing like this cake show that looks fully animated.
Yeah, just like in their igloos, they're animated.
Yeah, so they got really impressed by that. And I would imagine Disney's seen it too, I would imagine, at one point. And I'm pretty sure that definitely is not the only reason, but it's probably a good reason why we're doing so many Disney projects.
Thank you, Christian, for doing this interview with me, and thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. You might have noticed that the end is cut a little bit short there. Unfortunately, my phone did not record the last few minutes of our conversation, but we had a whole nice little conclusion there where I was like, thank you. He was like, thank you. But that's not in there, and it was really great. In the description below, you'll be able to find some links. I'll post a promotional segment for The Lion Guard that you should watch on November 22nd. Please wait until the credits roll up with my name in it. Unless they forgot me. Unless I lied this entire time. Okay, apart from that, in the description, you'll be able to find the animation test that Christian was talking about, as well as my Facebook page that I won't use to clog your newsfeed because I'm very, very bad at updating it. But hey, if you want to like me, I will not stop you. So thank you for watching. Have a good one.